But these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning.
Stop putting off those plumbing projects. Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for plumbing supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A Pure Water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Education Minister Favour Williams says loud and lewd music could be contributing to the high levels of violence seen in schools.
It is the lewd lyrics being broadcast in some of the public passenger vehicles that our students have to travel in to get to school that will determine if they arrive at school in a calm spirit or sexually charged.
And Minister Williams says guidance counselors are not the only individuals employed to tackle the issue of violence in schools.
The Police High Command has condemned what it's calling the brazen attack on its members this morning in downtown Kingston.
The CPFSA is calling on the public to help them find a toddler seen in a viral video being abused by a man.
The thought of a child being forced to eat to the point of vomiting and also being hit repeatedly, this is really torture.
Court rules that former Petra Jam executives Percival Bahadur Singh and Floyd Grindley have cases to answer.
In news from the rest of the world, teachers in Guyana to resume strike tomorrow.
The U.S. reveals it paused the shipment of bombs for Israel.
In headline sports, J3A's breaks silence over dismal Jamaican display at recent World Relays in Nassau.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, AstraZeneca has withdrawn its COVID-19 vaccine after it has been found to cause rare side effects such as blood clots. You'll hear more.
Also in the cover story, the UK government has approved the proposal of President of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, Lord Reid, to have overseas judges sit on the Privy Council. We'll get reactions from the President of the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Associations, Donovan Walker, and litigation attorney and former President of the Jamaican Bar Association, Emil Leiber, will join us.
And later, and in public opinion at 6:26, we'll ask, what's your reaction to news that the AstraZeneca vaccine has been withdrawn in Europe because it has been found to cause blood clots? Give us your comments by logging onto our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-2855-693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
At 7, it's Think Like a Stockbroker with Siobhan Campbell.
And at 8, it's Boyotings After Dark with Kareem Boyotings Weathers. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available in Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, May 8, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Loud and lewd music could potentially be contributing to the high levels of violence in schools. That's the theory of Education Minister Favour Williams. She made it this afternoon in her sectoral debate presentation in the House of Representatives, while seeking to assure Jamaicans that the government is doing all it can to address the issue. She reminded the country that it cannot fall on their shoulders alone. Norgay Banton reports.
As the country calls for more to be done to reduce violence in schools, The Education Minister says the government is focused on tackling the issue. However, she says the community must also play its part in this regard.
These incidents of violence and assaults on school property are way too frequent for a small society such as Jamaica's, where most of us know each other. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say to Jamaicans that if you believe it is the sole responsibility of the principal, the teachers, and the Ministry of Education to solve school violence, I humbly ask you to think again. Yes, the education sector has a big role to play, but we have to look at the treatment that our children receive at some homes and in their communities that will determine their state of mind when they arrive at school.
According to the minister, loud and lewd music plays a role in affecting the mindset of children when they arrive at school.
We have to consider that in some communities, very loud music and selectors screaming at the top of their voices until the wee hours of the morning during a school night in many communities that determine if our children arrive at school fully rested or simply exhausted from lack of sleep and just want to put their heads on the desk. It is the lewd lyrics being broadcast in some of the public passenger vehicles that our students have to travel in to get to school that will determine if they arrive at school in a calm spirit or sexually charged.
She says this is only amplified through easy access to weapons and drugs.
Add to this the access to weapons and drugs and the fact that many of our children are witnessing violent acts in their homes and within their communities. And it is not difficult, Madam Speaker, to understand that it does not take much to spark school violence. So I reiterate, Madam Speaker, that the responsibility lies with all of us as Jamaicans. We all have a part to play in eradicating incidents of school violence.
Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Minister Williams says the government has invested heavily in behavioral programs to address school violence.
In our schools, we strive to promote a culture of safety, respect, and support, and an environment where all students can thrive. Madam Speaker, that is why we have employed an approach that is multi-pronged, and it starts with the safety and security policy that is designed to prevent violence. It clearly spells out how to implement physical security measures, such as searches of students' school bags, organizing training programs for school personnel to recognize warning signs and intervene effectively, counseling at-risk individuals, developing crisis and emergency plans, assigning roles for students, parents, and the community, and addressing and resolving conflicts in a constructive manner.
The Education Minister also says guidance counselors are not the only individuals employed to tackle the issue.
And so, Madam Speaker, we have 930 guidance counselors in the education sector. We have 140 deans of discipline. We have 210 health and family life teachers in our high schools, 187 school nurses. Together, these professionals total 1,467 at a cost of approximately $6 billion annually to provide the behavioral support for our students in school.
Favour Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, she was speaking during her sectoral contribution on Wednesday.
The High Command of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF, has condemned the brazen attack on its members this morning in downtown Kingston. In a statement this afternoon, the High Command says the violent act represents a direct assault not only on the members of the constabulary but on the state itself. The incident started on Orange Street but continued with a car chase across sections of the city, finally ending at the intersection of Charles and King Street near Kingston Public Hospital when the gunmen crashed. Head of the Kingston Central Police Division, Superintendent Beresford Williams, says a team was in the area in response to reports of gunfire. He says upon arriving at the scene around 1:30 this morning, they were met with shots fired from a vehicle.
They returned the fire and the men ran in different directions. Shortly after, a vehicle that was parked in an open lot, a white IX, was seen driving out. The men in that vehicle fired on the police. Police returned the fire, and this resulted in a running gun battle.
Superintendent Beresford Williams, head of the Kingston Central Police Division. The High Command says such actions challenge the rule of law and the security framework that protects society. It is also extending best wishes for a swift and full recovery to the police constable from the Kingston West Division who sustained gunshot injuries. The High Command is also formally recognizing the bravery displayed by the members involved. It says their decisive action during the incident led to the seizure of 5 firearms, including 2 high-powered assault rifles, a significant move in keeping the country safe.
The Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch PSTEB has released the names of several individuals who have warrants for their arrests. The 79 individuals listed are being urged to turn themselves in immediately to the process office of PSTEB located at 16.5 Lower Ellitson Road, Kingston 16. The warrants range from a low of 2 to a high of 70. Topping the list are Ansel Thompson with 70 warrants, Roger Daly with 22 warrants, and Dino Aitken with 12. Jephthah Lawrence and Richard Denninson each have 7 warrants, while Rashane Brown and Ricardo Hall both have 6. 7 individuals have 5 warrants, while another 18 have 4. 5 individuals each have 3 warrants, while the rest, 40 each, have 2 warrants. The police are imploring anyone knowing the whereabouts of the persons named to make contact with the police. In addition, persons can give information by calling PSTEB at 876-349-9366, the NIB tip line at 811, the police 119 number, or the nearest police station.
The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, the CPFSA, is making an urgent appeal for members of the public to help them locate a toddler seen being physically abused by a man in a now viral video. In the video, a man in a grey sleeveless shirt is seen assaulting the toddler while physically forcing the child to eat. The CPFSA says it's in receipt of the video and is anxious to locate the child in order to safeguard his well-being. CEO of the CPFSA, Lauret Adams Thomas, says it's horrifying to see how this helpless child was being brutalized by an adult who was supposed to be providing care for him.
We are really disheartened at the thought of a child being forced to eat to the point of vomiting and also being hit repeatedly. This is really considered to be torture. It was truly heart-rending to witness an adult who is supposed to be a protector of this child, who is still in diapers, being so brutal in the handling of the child.
She's calling on the public to share with it any information you may have regarding the child or adult in the video.
We are calling on the public to share any information that they have regarding the child or adult in the video with us. Please call 211 or send a text to 878-2882 or even reach out to your local police. If you know anything about this situation, it is imperative that you do your part to help us secure this child. Their very life could depend on it.
Lauret Adams Thomas is CEO of the CPFSA. She's also urging members of the public to report any and all other instances of child abuse that they may be aware of. Reports can also be made by visiting any CPFSA parish office or through the agency's social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at CPFSAJM. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure. Reaching out for more, we'll always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone. Taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed, that's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams.
Continuing the news, Parish Court Judge Maxine Ellis has ruled that Dr. Percival Bahadur Singh and Floyd Grindley both have cases to answer in the Petrojam fraud matter. She handed down her ruling in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court this morning. Dr. Bahadur Singh was the chairman of Petrojam while Grindley was the general manager. They are jointly charged with conspiracy to defraud, fraudulent conversion, aiding and abetting fraudulent conversion, and obtaining valuable security by false pretense, contrary to the provisions of the Larceny Act. Shalois Michael reports.
The ruling followed no case submissions made by their lawyers on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Dr. Bahadur Singh delivered an unsworn statement. He stood in the dock for about an hour, declaring his innocence before the court. Dr. Bahadur Singh is accused of claiming reimbursement for fraudulent overseas trips and meetings, amounting to more than $73,000. He sought to give a detailed explanation of his time as chairman of Petrojam and what led him to take up the post. According to Dr. Bahadur Singh, he was offered the post while living and working permanently in the United States. He was later appointed to the board in 2016. Dr. Bahadur Singh said he felt compelled to serve in the country of his birth, given that he grew up in a children's home funded by the state. His voice cracked as he told the court that he was cared for and schooled by the state. At that point, Dr. Bahadur Singh paused, held up his head and sniffled. His eyes were watery. He then attempted to regain his composure, resting one hand above the other on the dock. Dr. Bahadur Singh continued, telling the court that the functions of Petrojam's board flourished under his chairmanship. He said the members worked well together in the interest of the company. He explained that he met Mr. Grindley when he applied for and received the post of general manager. Dr. Bahadur Singh explained that communications from the board and individual directors went through the office of the general manager or the corporate secretary's office. He recalled a workshop in 2016 where he said the company revealed it was about to lose its biggest client. Dr. Bahadur Singh explained that in an attempt to prevent this, a proposal was made that required him to travel frequently, both regionally and internationally. Dr. Bahadur Singh told the court that he was never made aware of Circular 21. Circular 21 outlines the rules regarding overseas travel and stipulates at which point the company will be responsible for making reimbursements for overseas travel. Dr. Bahadur Singh says the business trips he took while serving Petrojam were paid for out of pocket. He noted that the receipts were then sent to the office of the general manager for reimbursement, following the satisfaction of the chief financial officer. He told the court that the process was transparent. While wrapping up his statement, Dr. Bahadur Singh said, quote, "Your Honor, I did not know about Circular 21. I never conspired with Mr. Grindley. I never acted dishonestly and never misappropriated any of Petrojam's money. I am innocent." End quote. The trial will resume Thursday morning at 10. Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
And the trial of the 3 soldiers accused of killing businessman Keith Clark has been delayed again. It's now delayed until Monday, May 13. The trial, which was slated to start on Wednesday in the Supreme Court, failed to get underway due to the absence of transcripts from a preliminary hearing more formally known as a voir dire. Supreme Court Judge Justice Dale Palmer reluctantly granted an application by the Crown to have the trial delayed. The Crown beseeched the court to allow the postponement.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Teachers in Guyana will resume their industrial action tomorrow against the government's refusal to hold collective bargaining from 2019 to 2024. The Guyana Teachers Union GTU strike began on February 5 and ended 29 days later after court intervention. Subsequent talks between the government and the union failed. In an advisory on Tuesday, the GTU told members to resume strike action due to failed collective bargaining between the union and the government. It says it views the government's refusal to engage in collective bargaining as a breach of the labor laws and an insult to the integrity of all teachers in Guyana. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education acknowledged the receipt of a letter from GTU President Dr. Mark Light advising of the resumption of the teachers' strike tomorrow. She has reaffirmed the government's commitment to fostering open communication and collaboration with the GTU to address pertinent matters concerning the nation's teachers.
The United States last week paused a shipment of bombs for Israel over concerns it was going ahead with a major ground operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. A senior U.S. administration official says the shipment consisted of 1,800 2,000-pound bombs and 1,700 500-pound bombs. The official adds that Israel has not fully addressed U.S. concerns over the humanitarian needs of civilians in Rafah. The delayed arms shipment comes as U.S. President Joe Biden faces mounting domestic pressure from Democratic lawmakers and some parts of the U.S. public to rein in Israel in Gaza amid rising civilian deaths and a worsening humanitarian situation. But an Israeli military official appeared to play down the U.S. move.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories in Nationwide News at this hour. Education Minister Favour Williams says loud and lewd music could be contributing to the high levels of violence in schools.
It is the lewd lyrics being broadcast in some of the public passenger vehicles that our students have to travel in to get to school that will determine if they arrive at school in a calm spirit or sexually charged.
The Police High Command has condemned the brazen attack on its members this morning in downtown Kingston.
The CPFSA is calling on the public to help it find a toddler seen in a viral video being abused by a man.
Court rules that former Petrojam executives Dr. Percival Bahadur Singh and Floyd Grindley have fraud cases to answer.
I am Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available in Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GeoLand Title Limited. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, First-time registration land surveys also included, affordable rates and flexible payment options. NLA adjudication and land titling waivers also available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. Geoland Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on athletics. The Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, J3, says they were beset by injuries and late withdrawals ahead of the recent World Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. Coming out of the two-day meet, Jamaica earned qualification to 4 of 5 relays at this year's Olympic Games in Paris, with the men's 4x400 meters team the only one missing out. 3 of the 4 teams that qualified did so in the second round after failing to make the mark in the first round. In fact, only one Jamaican team made it to a final, the men's 4x100 meters, which finished last. The performance of the Jamaican teams have drawn criticism from the public. The J3A says it shares the public's consternation and will not speak specifically to the performances until they receive the reports from the management team, which was on the ground to include the medical and technical personnel. According to the J3As, they followed normal practice prior to the selection of the team, where athletes, coaches and agents were contacted with a deadline date regarding their availability. Now go ahead, our new champions of the InSports Devon Biscuits Primary School Central Athletics Championships, which ended this afternoon at the G.C. Foster College. Nago Head scored an impressive 313 points over the 3-day of championships, and they walked away with a top prize of $350,000. Dethroned the champion, Spanish Town finished the second with 236.5 points and the runners-up prize of $250,000. Greater Portmore, they were third, 229 points, and they picked up $200,000. St. John's Primary were fourth with 155 points, while Southborough rounded out the top 5 with 100 points. Teams finishing 4th to 10th all collected $100,000 each. The top 8 teams will now advance to the grand finale at the National Stadium May 20 to 22 to decide the All-Ireland champions. Lyson emerged the champions of the Eastern title last week, and the Western champions will be crowned this weekend, with Cardinal de Primary of St. James starting the defense of their title tomorrow. Record 14-time champions Real Madrid staged a late show in the Spanish capital tonight to book their 18th European Champions League final appearance. The Lily Whites trailed 1-0 on an Alphonso Davies goal with 12 minutes to go in the second leg of their semi-final against Bayern Munich at the Santiago de Bernabeu. However, 35-year-old Joselu scored twice as Madrid won 2-1 on the night and 4-3 on aggregate.
Davies takes on Rudiger and shoots. Oh, brilliant! Wow! Oh my, what a strike! The first time that Alphonso Davies has ever scored a goal in the Champions League, and he picks this stadium on this night against this team, and that's just taken Bayern Munich closer to a Champions League final at Wembley. Up against Kimmich, shooting as well, drops it, there's the chance for the equaliser! It's a howler from Manuel Neuer, and it's a goal for Joselu in the semi-final! Twisting and turning and looking for Rudiger, fizzes it on, 2-1!
So Madrid will now take on another German side, Borussia Dortmund, in the final on Saturday, June 1 at Wembley Stadium in London. Veteran cricket commentator Joseph Reds Pereira says Jayden Seales will make a welcome addition to the West Indies Test team bowling attack for their tour of England in July. Seales is now the leading wicket taker after 5 rounds of the County Championship Division 2. The 22-year-old Trini put in an outstanding performance in Sussex's innings and a 124-run win over Derbyshire on May 5. Seales took 1 for 54 from 14 overs in the first innings, then bagged a 5 for 29 from his 8 overs in the second innings. He now has 18 wickets from 4 games. Pereira says Seales gives the West Indies attack an extra dimension.
judging for how Jaden Seals has performed so far in England. He has been very, very outstanding. And you can look forward to July with himself and Shamar Joseph of Guyana sharing the opening attack with backup from Azari Joseph, Holder, Moti, and Sinclair. All of a sudden, the attack looks very different indeed, and it has a touch of the old class, especially in the fast bowling department. Himself, Joseph, Holder, Moti, and Sinclair looks to be a pretty good combination with our batting going quite deep.
That's Joseph Retz Pereira. And it's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Factoid, sponsored by Fontana Pharmacy.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Did you know that Herb McKinley is the first Jamaican to win a medal in the men's 100 meters at the Olympics? Yes, that's a fact. Herb McKinley won silver at the 1952 Games in Helsinki in the men's 100 meters.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Of course, Nationwide 90 FM is the exclusive providers of radio broadcasts for Jamaica during the Olympic Games in Paris. It starts on July 26 proper with the opening ceremony at the River Seine, but the Olympic Games starts on July 24 with some football qualifiers to get into the Olympic Games proper. But make it the date, July 26, the Olympic opening ceremony, and then right throughout the next days and weeks, we'll be having exclusive radio coverage of the games of the 33rd Olympiad right here on your Olympic Center, Nationwide 90 FM. All right, that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:31.
You know, so through the new social housing program, the government has already given houses to hundreds of poor Jamaicans and will give over 1,500 more houses to Jamaicans in need. We are building Jamaica.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You're gonna want to buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
The Jamaica Productivity Center, an agency of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, continues to foster an environment of productivity with their Future of Work and Productivity Summit. Nationwide 90 FM will broadcast live from the summit's media launch on Thursday, May 9 at the University of Technology's Shared Facilities Lecture Theatre 49. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as the launch builds anticipation for the Future of Work and Productivity Summit. So don't miss Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the summit's media launch only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Mr. Campbell.
Good afternoon, Sir Hughes.
Right. Well, in our cover story this afternoon, the pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca is withdrawing its COVID-19 vaccines. It started its withdrawal with immediate effect in the European Union before applications are made for other countries. The company was granted its request to pull back its vaccine, Vaxzevria, on Tuesday after having applied on March 5 this year.
It had come a week following a court admission on April 30 that Vaxzevria had induced the dangerous side effects of thrombosis. Thrombosis is caused by excessive blood clotting. It was also reported to induce a rare condition called thrombocytopenia syndrome, TTS, in some people. TTS is a condition in which the body has low blood platelet counts.
The British newspaper The Daily Telegraph is reporting that as of May 7 this year, the vaccine has been banned from Europe and had its marketing authorization revoked. Sky News' Thomas Moore has more in this report.
In the dark days of lockdown, AstraZeneca's COVID jab was quite literally the shot in the arm we needed. Billions of doses later, its time is up. The vaccine withdrawn by the company because of falling demand. Augusta Turiaco's family won't miss it. She died 19 days after having the jab in Italy, and they're taking legal action against the pharmaceutical giant.
My family and I are not against vaccinations. We want to clarify this. When my sister died, we invited people to get vaccinated, as long as it was a safe vaccine. And for us, AstraZeneca, unfortunately, was not a safe vaccine.
Brian Pinker was the first to have the Vaxzevria vaccine in January 2021. Boris Johnson also had the jab, heaping praise on the Oxford University scientists who developed it. In its first year, 3 billion doses were distributed, with more than 6 million lives saved. But the United States never licensed the vaccine, and as clotting concerns grew, it was suspended or withdrawn, first in Denmark and then several other European countries, while in the UK it was restricted, first only to be used in people over 30, then those over 40.
And its legacy should be definitely a positive one rather than a negative one. So across the height of the pandemic, the AstraZeneca vaccine was indeed the vaccine for the world. It was a vaccine that was much cheaper to manufacture. It could be stored at fridge-like temperatures rather than the ultra-cold chain, the ultra-frozen temperatures that were needed by Pfizer and Moderna. So it was much easier to transport to, for example, rural settings in Africa and be deployed there.
AstraZeneca has always insisted the vaccine's benefits outweigh the risks. A spokesperson added, "We are incredibly proud of the role Vaxzevria played in ending the global pandemic. Multiple variant COVID-19 vaccines have since been developed. This has led to a decline in demand for Vaxzevria, which is no longer being manufactured or supplied." But the biotech that underpins the vaccine may survive, perhaps tweaked to avoid blood clots, ready for the next race against a virus. Thomas Moore, Sky News.
Well, and we should remind ourselves, AstraZeneca was the leading vaccine.
First and premier.
In Jamaica. Yes. Yeah. And in 2021, BBC reported that the vaccine was suspended in several European countries due to similar reports and concerns about it causing blood clots. Here's that report.
The authorities in the Republic of Ireland have recommended temporarily suspending the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine while investigations are carried out into 4 new reports of blood clotting in patients who've received the jab in Norway. Well, our health correspondent Louise Cullen gave me this update.
Well, Ben, in the Republic of Ireland, the statement was issued this morning that it would be suspending the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine following those reports from Norway. The Deputy Chief Medical Officer for Ireland, Dr. Ronan Glynn, says it is precautionary. But these reports from Norway and several other countries have included what they call thrombolytic events, clots, skin bleeds and so on. Now, it's important to say there have been around 30 of those events across Europe, and that's out of 5 million Europeans getting the jab. The European Medicines Agency, the European regulator and the World Health Organization have said there's no evidence to establish a link between getting the vaccine and these thrombolytic events. And this suspension is being described, as I say, as precautionary. But Ireland joins a list of European countries that have now suspended either the vaccine or certain batches of it while investigations are being carried out to see if there is a link or to establish some safety parameters. Now, the National Immunisation Advisory Committee in Ireland is meeting this morning following that announcement, and there should be an update later today.
That's Louise Cullen, our health correspondent.
Well, we can tell you that we made several efforts throughout the day to reach our local health authorities to get their take on the developments with AstraZeneca and the concerns and the reported deaths in Europe. And they have said, listen, we're not talking because we don't have a position on this yet. Yes, that's the feedback we got from several of the local authorities we tried reaching out to. Yes, we don't have a position on it yet. We're still watching the situation, and therefore they're not going to be speaking about the turn of events where the AstraZeneca is concerned. But I can tell you, one former prominent Jamaican has sent me a message, to say, listen, he's concerned because he got the AstraZeneca, he took it, and he later developed blood clots, yes? I had problems with blood clots in 2020 and 2021 and had to be hospitalized. I wonder, he says. And I said, did you take the AstraZeneca? He says, yes. Yeah? So let us see how this story develops further. Yeah, but it was, as Siobhan says, the leading COVID vaccine in Jamaica. Right?
And it puts us in such a strange place because that vaccine, as the BBC pointed out, has been credited with saving millions of lives. And no, it has a shadow cast over it, essentially. Although I believe Johnson & Johnson and other vaccine brands have similar issues now being identified in terms of causing blood clots in individuals, I believe, of a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I think I need more time to absorb this. I'm not sure what to think specifically, but it really leaves one in a very conflicted way.
Right. And we should point out as well that AstraZeneca has said officially that it has pulled the vaccine from the market, but not because of the reports of blood clots.
Low demand.
But low demand for it. Yes, low demand for it. All right. The Privy Council President, Lord Reid, you'll recall a couple of weeks ago, revealed that he had asked the UK government to approve the sitting of judges from places like the Caribbean, Jamaica, to sit on Privy Council decisions, rulings, cases. And today it was revealed that the UK government has approved his request for judges from other jurisdictions to sit, yes, at the Privy Council. After the break, we're going to get some reactions to that.
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:43.
Do you owe the NWC? Don't worry. The NWC's Pay and Save program can help you. Yes, you can get a 10 to 20% discount off when you pay balances that are 90 days or older. And if you can't pay everything in full, you can enter into a payment arrangement. Take advantage of this great opportunity by visiting any NWC commercial office island-wide. For more information about the NWC's Pay and Save program, visit nwcjamaica.com or call 888-NWC. Conditions apply.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure. reaching out for more. We'll always see you through. Reach for more. Whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone. Taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed. That's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
Welcome back. It's 5:45, and we're switching gears now to the Judicial Council of the Privy Council, JCPC. The UK government has approved the proposal of the President of the Privy Council, that's Lord Reid, to have overseas judges sit on its council. A release on the JCPC's website on Wednesday said the court and the Ministry of Justice are now working on detailed arrangements to welcome judges from countries they serve, subject to the approval of His Majesty the King.
Announcement of the approval follows Lord Reid's special virtual lecture at the University of the West Indies, Mona, last month, where he disclosed that he had recommended to the British government that senior judges from the jurisdictions they serve sit on the Privy Council.
Having the benefit of the opinion of a judge with direct experience of local conditions can only enhance the quality of the Privy Council's decision-making. I've therefore asked the UK government to consider a proposal to invite senior judges from outside the UK to sit with us again on the Privy Council. This isn't currently possible in relation to most of the Privy Council jurisdictions under the legislation which currently governs appointments. The exceptions include judges of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the High Court of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Supreme Court of Jamaica, who can sit on the Privy Council if they are first appointed as Privy Councillors. At present, none of the judges from these jurisdictions are Privy Councillors, but I am hopeful that that position may change before long.
That's Lord Reid, President of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. In the JCPC's statement on Wednesday, Lord Reid says the councillors are immensely proud of the work they do within the JCPC and are dedicated to considering how they can best serve the countries and territories they represent.
Joining us now to give us their reactions to the development, we have the President of the Organization of Commonwealth Caribbean Bar Associations, Donovan Walker, and litigation attorney and former president of the Jamaican Bar, Emile Leiber. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, please.
Good afternoon. Let me begin with you, Emile Leiber. Your reaction to this development?
Well, I would consider it to be a positive development. It's not unheard of that Caribbean judges have sat with the Privy Council in times past, but former President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Panta, now retired, had indicated from as far back as 2015, some 9 years ago, that was few and far between. Mm-hmm. So we have yet to see how this will unfold.
And Donovan Walker, your reaction?
Good afternoon to you, Cliff.
Good afternoon.
And your listeners. Hi, Emile. Good to hear
you. Hi, Dan.
Yeah. My take on this is that it's good from the perspective that the Privy Council remains pursuant to our Constitution or final appellate court. And as an officer of the court, I'm happy when the court, on its own initiative or otherwise, seeks to provide a better level of service to the Jamaican people. As Emile has pointed out, there have been Jamaican judges who have sat on the Privy Council. Former Chief Justice Edward Zaka sat as a Privy Councillor. The former President of the Caribbean Court of Justice also sat as a Privy Councillor. As a matter of fact, this suggestion by Lord Reid really is nothing new, because Sir Shadi Lal from India sat as a judge of the Judicial Committee Privy Council between 1934 to 1938. Of course, India has abolished the Privy Council since 1949. So, in a nutshell, the fact that judges are going to be invited to sit at the Privy Council per se is not a bad thing. But Justice Reed's comments begs another question, which I can get to momentarily.
What is that question, Mr. Walker?
Oh, thanks. Because Lord Reed says this: having the benefit of the opinion of a judge with direct experience of local conditions can only enhance the quality of the Privy Council's decision-making. And I just wonder, the CARICOM governments, pursuant to the Treaty of the Chaguaramas, set up the Caribbean Court of Justice. The judges on that court are multi-jurisdictional, they're multiracial judges, they're white, they're black, they're Indian, and they all have what, as Lord Reed says, they're all judges with direct local experience of local conditions. And so the question I have is, why doesn't the Jamaican government, particularly in an environment where they're talking about moving away from the King of England being the head of state of Jamaica, why not at the same time remove institutions such as the JCPC as our final appellate court and move it to the Caribbean Court of Justice?
Emil Leiber, and that's where I would like to take the conversation. From where you sit, this matter of allowing judges from overseas territories to sit on the Privy Council, does it really in some way move the needle on what many people who are proponents of the CCJ say is the matter of access to a final appellate court? Is this in any way a concession on that regard?
In my view, the simple answer to that is no. So the fact that a Jamaican judge, for example, is sitting with the Privy Council, it would still be in London. It would still require the attorneys who are representing the parties to secure visas to access the country where the final appeal is being heard. And there would still be a requirement for you to have what they call a local Privy Council agent, which is basically to hire a UK firm of solicitors to, let's call it, assist in your representation and filings. So in terms of the whole court process and the cost and steps that are necessary, which proves prohibitive for a number of Jamaicans, a large number of Jamaicans, that would not change by virtue of this proposal. I'm not even sure if I'd call it an amendment, but the whole structure of it really, again, doesn't answer the question about access to justice by those who are either not of fame in certain areas or have the funds or ability to otherwise access the final court.
But doesn't it give a shot in the arm to those who have been against disbanding, getting rid of the JCPC as our final appellate court? Because this provides something of a stop to them to say, listen, yes, the Privy Council has been hearing the debate here in the Caribbean, and they are now making this move.
Well, as Don had indicated, I do see it as a positive move. However, I would reserve judgment until I see how it operates in practical terms, because the fact is that what would be the frequency with which this will take place? Is it that they will have the discretion to say, okay, on this case from Jamaica, I want a Jamaican judge to sit with us. Mm-hmm. But on that case, I don't think local experience is required. And so I don't need anyone from Jamaica to sit with the Judicial Committee. And so the extent to which it is discretionary and perhaps to some degree arbitrary, that still has yet to be determined. I said it is conceptually a positive, but we have yet to see how it will operate in practice.
Mm-hmm. Donovan Walker, when in the past, from 1934, how was it done in terms of having judges from other jurisdictions sitting on the JCPC?
Well, what would happen, of course, is it's technically an appeal to His Majesty. So the King, of course, would have to approve the person who is sitting, and you're invited to sit. And that was the case with Justice Lal from India, and recently with Justice Della Bastide from Trinidad and Justice Zaka from Jamaica. But Mr. Hughes and your listeners and Emil, one of the concerns that I really have is that Jamaica and the CARICOM governments have set up a financially independent, a judicially independent entity that is no longer a neophyte court. It has operated with excellence as an apex court, as has been independently reviewed. It presently sits as Jamaica's Court of Original Jurisdiction regarding CARICOM matters. Mm-hmm. And so one wonders, why not make this move, particularly when we're saying we no longer want the King as the head of state?
But Donovan Walker, it's a deep mistrust, yes, that still holds sway in significant sections of Jamaican society and Caribbean society, including members of your own profession, saying that, listen, we just can't trust, the local system there, and for several reasons. I think of your esteemed colleague, King's Counsel Valrenita Robertson, who has been very clear and articulate on this, and she speaks and represents a significant section of public opinion on this.
Well, actually, the Jamaican Bar Association last year, when I was president 10 years ago, our position was clear. But given Valerie's and others' advocacy and passion, this was put before the members of the Jamaican Bar Association, and the Jamaican Bar Association unreservedly passed a resolution at their AGM in 2023 that they want to see the CCJ as the final appellate court. So I don't necessarily know that the argument is persuasive. The argument that I've been hearing is one of mistrust. Mm-hmm. And the way that it's been put, which is slightly disingenuous, is I don't mind that a white man in England is hearing my case as long as he's giving me justice. As if what this argument is one of race. The CCJ has judges of all ethnicity, whether white, Indian, Asian, mixed, black.
But the mistrust has more to do more than just race.
It also runs politically deep.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about the political. And who made that brilliant suggestion years ago about the political risk was Edward Seago. Edward said we cannot trust the political heads to be appointing the judiciary. And what was set up based on that was a regional judicial legal services commission.
Mm-hmm.
There is no political appointment. And those persons, primarily very good, very established lawyers and judges throughout the region, are the persons who select the CCJ judges.
Yes.
What I will turn and ask you is, how are the Privy Council judges appointed?
By politicians.
Exactly.
So we have to leave it there, Donovan Walker. Thank you so much. Yes, point made. Emil Leiber, thank you very much for joining us as well. We're out of time. That's a cover story. The headlines are next.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan, and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6:01.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Loud and lewd music could potentially be contributing to the high levels of violence in schools. That's the argument put forward by Education Minister Favour Williams as part of her sectoral debate presentation in the House of Representatives on Wednesday.
We have to consider that in some communities, very loud music and selectors screaming at the top of their voices until the wee hours of the morning during a school night in many communities that determine if our children arrive at school fully rested or simply exhausted from lack of sleep and just want to put their heads on the desk. It is the lewd lyrics being broadcast in some of the public passenger vehicles that our students have to travel in to get to school that will determine if they arrive at school in a calm spirit or sexually charged.
Meanwhile, Education Minister says the government has invested heavily in behavioral programs to address school violence.
In our schools, we strive to promote a culture of safety, respect, and support, and an environment where all students can thrive. Madam Speaker, that is why we have employed an approach that is multi-pronged, and it starts with the safety and security policy that is designed to prevent violence. It clearly spells out how to implement physical security measures, such as searches of students' school bags, organizing training programs for school personnel to recognize warning signs and intervene effectively, counseling at-risk individuals, developing crisis and emergency plans, assigning roles for students, parents, and the community, and addressing and resolving conflicts in a constructive manner.
Favour Williams, Minister of Education. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, is making an urgent appeal for members of the public to help them locate a toddler seen being physically abused by a man in a now viral video. In the video, a man in a grey sleeveless shirt is seen assaulting the toddler while physically forcing the child to eat food. Lord Iams Thomas is the CEO of the CPFSA.
We are really disheartened at the thought of a child being forced to eat to the point of vomiting and also being hit repeatedly. This is really considered to be torture, It was truly heartrending to witness an adult who is supposed to be a protector of this child, who is still in diapers, being so brutal in the handling of the child.
She's calling on the public to share any information they have regarding the child or adult in the video.
Please call 211 or send a text to 878-2882 or even reach out to your local police. If you know anything about this situation, it is imperative that you do your part to help us secure this child. Their very life could depend on it.
Laureate Adams Thomas, CEO of the CPFSA. The trial of the 3 soldiers accused of killing businessman Keith Clark has been delayed again. It's now delayed until Monday, May 13. The trial, which was slated to start on Wednesday in the Supreme Court, failed to get underway due to the absence of transcripts from a preliminary hearing, more formally known as a voir dire. Robian Williams was in court.
The Crown submitted that it will be necessary to have the transcripts to proceed with its witnesses. It was further stated that a witness who was to be called had a serious medical concern. The prosecutor noted that if he's to proceed to another witness, it would take away from the foundation of the Crown's case. The court was also informed that a subpoena will be required for another witness to be present. The prosecutor told the court that he's constrained to seek an adjournment until Monday when the transcripts are ready. The prosecutor said, quote, "Though we would be losing time, we will be able to catch up and exceed expectations in terms of the length of the trial," end quote. Justice Palmer said he was perplexed with the application, noting that the Crown has always been adamant for the matter to start. On Tuesday, the defense requested that they would need the transcripts, but the Crown insisted that the matter proceed and the transcripts be obtained after. A panel of 7 jurors were impaneled and a decision made for the trial to start on Wednesday. In court, King's counsel Valerie Nita Robertson said the defense would be hampered in cross-examination without the transcripts. Justice Palmer said that he would facilitate the Crown starting their evidence-in-chief with its first witness. However, he would delay the cross-examining of the witness until the transcripts are available. He added that he's not minded to adjourn given the urgency of the matter. After an initial ruling to have the matter proceed, Justice Palmer reversed his decision following further submissions from the Crown about the extent of the witness's medical condition. Justice Palmer expressed his disappointment with the Crown's application, but added that under the circumstances, it would not be prudent to start, a decision which the defense also agreed with. Justice Palmer warned that no further adjournments will be granted to the start of the proceedings. The trial is estimated to last for 4 weeks. The soldiers Corporal Odell Buckley, Lance Corporal Greg Tinglin, and Private Arnold Henry are jointly charged with the murder of businessman Keith Clark. Mr. Clark was shot 21 times at his home in Kirkland Heights, St. Andrew, on May 27, 2010, during a military operation. The operation was in search of convicted drug lord Christopher Dudus Coke. Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
Variety is the spice of life. That's not just true for entertainment, it's true for investing too. While stocks, bonds, and cash are effective, there are other credible investment options out there. These are alternative investments, ranging from digital options like cryptocurrencies to old school investments like gold, real estate, and private equity. You can invest on your own or via a fund with a curated portfolio of investment options.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
Portlanders! Nationwide 90 FM will broadcast live from the Ministry of Local Government's Disaster Preparedness Town Hall meeting at the new Errol Flynn Marina in Port Antonio. Tune in to the E-Zone from 3 to 5 p.m. when we'll hear the views of our youth on disaster mitigation and preparation. Then, tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. for the official town hall meeting. Speakers include the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Senator the Honorable Matthew Samuda, and other stakeholders. Tune in for discussions on preparing for the hurricane season, how to prevent disasters, and more. So don't miss this. E-Zone from 3 to 5 p.m., followed by Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. Catch them on the grounds of the new Errol Flynn Marina in Port Antonio, or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports. I'm Wayne Walker. The Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, J3A, says they were beset by injuries and late withdrawals ahead of the recent World Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. Coming out of the two-day meet, Jamaica earned qualification to 4 of 5 relays at this year's Olympic Games in Paris, with the men's 4x400 meters team the only one missing out. 3 of the 4 teams that qualified did so in the second round after failing to make the mark in the first round. In fact, only one Jamaican team made it to a final, the men's 4x100 meters, and they finished last in the final. Now, the performance of the Jamaican teams have drawn criticism from the public. The J3 says it shares the public's consternation and will not speak specifically to the performances until they receive the reports from the management team, which was on the ground, to include the medical and technical personnel. According to the J3As, they followed normal practice prior to the selection of the team, where athletes, coaches, and agents were contacted with a deadline date regarding their availability. Now go ahead, our new champions of the InSports Devon Biscuits Primary School's Central Athletics Championships, which ended this afternoon at the GC Foster College. Nagohead scored an impressive 313 points over the 3 days of championships, and they walked away with the top prize of $350,000. Dethroned the champion Spanish Town finished the second with 236.5 points, and the runners-up prize of $250,000. Greater Portmore, they were third. They scored 229 points and bagged the $200,000 for their troubles. St. John's Primary were fourth with 155. Southborough rounded out the top 5 with 100 points. Now the teams finishing 4th to 10th all collected $100,000 each. The top 8 teams will now advance to the grand finale at the National Stadium, May 20 to 22, to decide the All-Ireland champions. License emerged the champions of the Eastern title last week, and the Western champions will be crowned this weekend, with Corinaldi Primary of St. James starting the defense of their title tomorrow at St. Elizabeth Technical High School. Record 14-time champions Real Madrid staged a late show in the Spanish capital tonight to book their 18th European Champions League final appearance. The Lily Whites trailed 1-0 on an Alphonso Davies goal with 12 minutes to go in the second leg of their semi-final against Bayern Munich at the Santiago de Bernabeu. However, 35-year-old José Luis scored twice as Madrid won 2-1 on the night, 4-3 on aggregate.
Davies takes on Rudiger and shoots. Oh, brilliant! Wow! Oh my, what a strike! The first time that Alphonso Davies has ever scored a goal in the Champions League, and he picks this stadium on this night against this team, and that's just taken Bayern Munich closer to a Champions League final at Wembley. Up against Kimmich, shooting as well, drops it. There's the chance to the equaliser. It's a howler from Manuel Neuer, and it's a goal for José Luis in the semi-final. Twisting and turning and looking for Rudiger. Fizzes it on 2-1.
Madrid will now face another German side, Borussia Dortmund, in the final on Saturday, June 1 at Wembley Stadium in London. Central Kingston FC player Romain Rankin has been banned by the Kingston and St Andrew Football Association's disciplinary committee for 1 season. Rankin was also fined $5,000. Meanwhile, assistant coach of Central Kingston Michael Howell was also suspended for the remainder of the season or for 3 games. He is also to pay a fine of $3,000. The disciplinary committee made the decision after hearing evidence following the match between Central Kingston and Boys Town at St. George's College on May 4, which resulted in the referee being assaulted by the player. Veteran cricket commentator Joseph Reds Pereira says Jaden Seals, the young Trinidad and Tobago pace, will make a welcome addition to the West Indies Test team bowling attack for the Tour of England in July. Seals is now the leading wicket taker after 5 rounds of the County Championship Division 2 The 22-year-old put in an outstanding performance in Sussex's innings and a 124-run win over Derbyshire. Seals took 1 for 54 from 14 overs in the first innings. He then bagged a 5 for 29 from his 8 overs in the second innings. He now has 18 wickets from 4 games, and Pereira says Seals gives the West Indies attack an extra dimension.
Judging for how Jayden Seals has performed so far in England, he has been very, very outstanding. And you can look forward to July with himself and Shamar Joseph of Guyana sharing the opening attack with backup from Azari Joseph, Holder, Moti, and Sinclair. All of a sudden, the attack looks very different indeed, and it has a touch of the old class, especially in the fast bowling department. Himself, Joseph, Holder, Moti, and Sinclair looks to be a pretty good combination with our batting going quite deep.
That's Joseph Retz Pereira. Naomi Osaka defeated Clara Burel of France in straight sets in the Italian Open first round on her first appearance at the tournament since 2021. Former world's number 1 Osaka won 7-6, 6-1 against Burel, who is ranked 45th in the world. It was Osaka's first win against a top 50 opponent on clay since beating Victoria Azarenka at the French Open in 2019. The 26-year-old, who gave birth to her first daughter last year, will face 19th seed Marta Kostyova of Ukraine in the second round on Thursday. Meanwhile, Britain's Dan Evans will have to wait to take on Italy's Fabio Fognini in the men's competition after his first round tie on Wednesday was cancelled due to inclement weather in the Italian capital, Rome. Japan's Osaka, now ranked number 173 in the world, finished the 84-minute game with 27 winners, including 8 aces.
I felt like all first round matches really nervous, but I'm really glad that I was able to close it in 2. I think honestly just embracing all the challenges, and I feel like not trying to change too much. I think most of my strengths can work on clay, and I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
That's Naomi Osaka. The Olympic torch has reached Marseille amid an unprecedented level of security 79 days out before the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympic Games. A 3-masted ship brought the torch to the Mediterranean coastal city in southern France from Greece's ancient Olympia, where the flame was lit on April 11. The torch will be brought to shore after a 6-hour parade featuring more than 1,000 boats in front of President Emmanuel Macron and an estimated crowd of 150,000 people. Officials said 6,000 law enforcement officers, K9 units, and elite forces snipers would be on patrol. France raised its security threat level last October after a teacher was killed in a knife attack, while there were concerns that wars in Ukraine and Gaza could increase the threat. President of the Paris 2024 Organizing Committee, Tony Esquet, said Marseille was the obvious choice to host the boat parade, given it is France's oldest city and was founded by Greeks. Nationwide radio will have live and exclusive coverage of the Paris Olympic Games starting July 26. And finally in sports at this time, Rory McIlroy has called for professional golf to follow the example of the Northern Ireland peace process and seek a compromise that brings the divided parties together. Amid the ongoing schism between the PGA Tour and the breakaway Leaf Circuit, the world's number 2 recalled the Good Friday Agreement, the 1998 peace deal that helped to end the troubles in his homeland. McIlroy said there would need to be concessions made in any deal between the two golf tours and stressed the benefit of reaching an accord very soon. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:18.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
A mother's journey of love shared from generation to generation gives her the ultimate relaxation and escape to Adam and Eve Day Spa and Salon for a mommy-made new experience. Book now at www.adamandevespaja.com. Purchase gift certificates or call 876-754-6017. Get mom the perfect gift of love. This Mother's Day, let Team Adam and Eve take her on a spa journey. She deserves it.
This outstanding 6'4" athlete credits Jamaica with her first Olympic victory ever.
Jamaica is filled with Olympians.
World record holder McKinley dashes into the lead.
We must never forget the forerunners of Jamaican Olympic greatness.
Coming into the home stretch, it's Wint who challenges the leader.
Win or lose, athletes never forget their Olympic experience.
Melly Notty has devastated another world-class field. And Hemmings is going to do it. Hemmings wins it. She's the champion.
Win or lose, Jamaicans will cheer the loudest at the Olympics so that the world will never forget who we are.
And Usain Bolt is moving away. And Jamaica retained their title. And the world record has been taken apart. Oh, I say.
From July 26 to August 11, tune in only to Nationwide 90 FM for the coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, because we're here to ensure that you never forget. Nationwide's coverage is powered by our bronze sponsors: National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited, Digicel, Grace Foods, Spirits of Jamaica, Imperial Optical Jamaica, and Rainforest Caribbean.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robianne Williams. A special one to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know, as always, we like to hear from you, so we ask you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It's midweek, yeah? One day closer to Friday, the weekend. But let's get to it. Pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca is withdrawing its COVID-19 vaccines worldwide. It started its withdrawals with immediate effect in the European Union before applications are made for other countries. Now, the company was granted its request to pull back its vaccine on Tuesday after having applied on March 5 this year. It had come a week following a court admission on April 30 that the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, had induced the dangerous side effects of thrombosis. Now, thrombosis is caused by excessive blood clotting. AstraZeneca also cited that the availability of a plethora of new shots has led to a decline in demand. So in Public Opinion today, we're asking, what's your reaction to news that the AstraZeneca vaccine has been withdrawn in Europe because it has been found to cause blood clots?
The news about the AstraZeneca vaccine being withdrawn and the side effects, it's unfortunate, and I wish the information had come out earlier. I guess it now remains to be seen how it affected us here in Jamaica, because many Jamaicans took the vaccine, so that needs to be researched like real fast so that people know individually how they're affected by it, or how they have been affected by it.
This has definitely rocked the pharmaceutical industry. It's a big blow for medical science. It's definitely going to cause anxiety among persons who would have taken the vaccine. But I believe that if you are going to suffer from this blood clot, it would have happened already if you take the vaccine 5 years ago. But it is a big blow for medical science, and it's going to give credence to to all those anti-vacciners. Big credence.
All right, the views of the people right there in our public opinion this evening. What's your reaction to news that the AstraZeneca vaccine has been withdrawn in Europe? Let's get to the comments on our social media platform. Philip Jackson says, well, it's great that they could establish the fact, but how much people have experienced blood clots because of the vaccine? If that is so, then they should compensate those families. Christopher Isaacs believes that the anti-vaxxers should take a bow on this one. CJ says, I'm not surprised. Almost all vaccines cause blood clots, and will negatively affect our body. Prince Wellington says, very good. Fabian Smith says they should compensate the people who took it. While Natalie Winter is saying, with any vaccine, you can have positive and negative reactions. It's how our individual immune system reacts to such vaccines. Edney Powell is asking, what can you do? Just to show anything cheap is no good. Anything flood Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America, something wrong. All right, that's your opinion there. Mark Julius says, it is a good move to withdraw it if it causes blood clot, but there is a substitute for that particular vaccine. The patients who experience the blood clot should be compensated. That's coming from Mark Julius. Beverly Barrett says everything has side effects. Annette Wheeler says every country that use should sue the manufacturer. All right. Pamela Bennett believes that every drugs have its side effects. All right. The comments on our Facebook platform right there. Going to our X platform, formerly known as, what do you call it? Twitter? All right. Let me see. Tevin Johnson says, honestly, I'm scared right now because I got 2 doses. I got the 2 doses of that vaccine. And if you have the first dose, you have to go for the second dose. And I think there were booster shots. There were booster shots. Let me see. Sweet Music says things get approved and withdrawn all the time. I remember when coconut oil was withdrawn and we were told it wasn't good for our health and soya bean was the way to go. And then coconut oil is now the best thing since sliced bread. Mark Rambaran says perhaps withdrawal is matter of supply and demand rather entirely based on potential side effects. Well, AstraZeneca did cite the fact that the withdrawal is as a result of, the availability of a plethora of new shots, which has led to a decline in demand. Let me see. Ricky says we don't know this. Almost close to, we don't, okay, he's saying, don't we know this? Almost close to day 1. I'm definitely sure I've heard something similar around that time. The Writing Solution says thrombosis. Well, let's see what happens the next 2 to 5 years. Let's hope nothing. Paul Johnson says all vaccines have rare side effects and the risk versus potential benefits weighed to determine if it's worthwhile and for who. Don O'Mealy says, see, time reveals the truth. Drops mic. Okay, all right. Let me see if I can get this in. Teachers, child cell pharmaceutical companies can no longer be protected from the prosecution when their drugs causes harm. They must be held accountable if we are to have safer drugs. Dizzle says it's shocking. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. AstraZeneca has withdrawn its COVID-19 vaccine in Europe, citing low demand, decline in demand, and this after it was found that the vaccine has been causing blood clots in some people who took it. Let me get to the comments on our YouTube platform real quick to see if there are any. Mildred Hamilton is questioning, what about people who died from blood clots before COVID vaccines? Well, there's also that too. Georgelyn Grant says they knew all along of the side effects because they know that you can't sue them. Okay. Hameen is saying, boy, now we know what give people blood clot. This is okay. All right, let me see if I can get in some more laughs. Laughs in Ragnar says, I feel that vaccine I gonna come back to haunt us. All right, let me see if I can get some more of the comments on our social media platform. Barrington Buck on Instagram say, I'm speaking to my lawyer about this one. Let me see if I can get some more. Ruby is saying, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ju says, da da dee. Da da da. All right. Moni believes that the damage is already done. Yes, the damage is already done. And Miguel is questioning, can it be proven that the clots weren't developing or developed before the administration of the drug? And Yuri says, my reaction is that the MOH, Ministry of Health, knew that this wasn't safe and yet still they brought it into our country. I remember when we got the first shipment of AstraZeneca vaccine, I believe it was in March 2021. And I was covering, as a journalist, I was covering that particular story, and I went out to the NMIA, and we welcomed the first shipment that we got. I remember that day. Yeah, man, I remember that day. Villa says blood clot was established from day one with AstraZeneca. Why una frightening people? Precious Soul says, my mother have blood clot and she never take vaccine. Well, it's caused by other stuff, of course. Lily White is saying, how many years that now? What is this excitement? No one thing for sure. It saves lives. Well, it's not an excitement that we're creating. It's just the fact that the vaccine is now being withdrawn in Europe, and I believe that some other countries to come. Yes, applications are being made for other countries, and the AstraZeneca, the pharmaceutical company, has cited that it is due to a decline in demand, but then there were some instances, many instances, where people who took the vaccine had blood clots. And that's what we're talking about. It's not no excitement or for scare people, you guys easily get scared like myself here, but we're just keeping you abreast of what's happening. Let me see if I can get in some more. James says it's excitement, of course. Well, to each his own, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Yes, and this is the court for it, the court of public opinion, where we ask you for your views. Let me see if I can get in some more. Who am I says, my woman told me that the vaccine make me be Superman. Yeah, okay, who am I? I get what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. Charmaine Anderson says, I took it and 2 years later I developed low blood count. Had to get blood transfusion, blood clots in my right lungs, and my entire right leg developed heart disease where I had to get a triple bypass in 2023. Wow, Charmaine, that is a lot. That is a lot. Let me see. Bowen, blood clots have been around since day one. That's why there are many blood thinners. Bali saying, we heard from earlier about the blood clotting. I took Pfizer. GH says, I took vaccine but Moderna, and I was around lots of people that caught COVID, and glory be to God, I never did and still haven't. Some feel like, sometimes because we Jamaicans, we have flu symptoms and them sickness there, and we take it light. I feel at one point in time I may have caught COVID, but me never really know or sure, or maybe I didn't get tested. I don't know. But I took the vaccine, AstraZeneca, and upon hearing the news, I was initially frightened until I did some more reading to see that it's being withdrawn because of low demand. But there are also the concerns as it relates to thrombosis, blood clots, So it's something to monitor carefully and watch what is happening. I heard Cliff saying earlier that he had reached out to the local authorities, but they had no comment at this time. And we await the comments of the local authorities on this, and we will see what happens. Thank you guys so much for listening to Public Opinion. That's all the time we have. Do stay tuned for the business report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation, and control solutions.
Don't let poor vision hold your children back. IQ Optical gives complimentary standard reflection-free lenses to children and teachers until May 31. Conditions apply.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Some good news. Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, May 9. That's tomorrow. And that's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. Now, 90 octane will decrease by $3.06 per litre, while 87 octane will go down by $4.50 per litre. Automotive diesel fuel will see a decrease of $4.47 per litre. So too will ultra low sulfur diesel will go down by $4.50 per litre. Kerosene has decreased by $4.15 per litre. Propane liquid petroleum will go down by $3.06 per litre, and butane liquid petroleum will go down by the very same $3.06 per litre. Of course, you know marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to the prices. Now, Disney is banking on a password crackdown and a spate of sequels as it pushes to make its streaming business more profitable. The company, which is under pressure as audiences move away from traditional pay TV and cinema, said it was on track to meet its goals after new subscribers and price rises helped to narrow losses in its streaming business. Disney Plus gained more than 6 million subscribers globally between January and March, excluding India. The streaming service now has more than 117 million subscribers. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 47 cents to buy $1 US, 195 Jamaican dollars and 54 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 115 Jamaican dollars and 22 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. And that's the Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Bulletins After Dark with Kareem Bulletins each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Bulletins After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Bulletins After Dark.
Watch for Shelly Fraser Price.
I stay locked to the Olympics because, of course, I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Me, I have to tune into the Olympics, man. Because I'm always busy, but what? I have to know when Sherika Jackson beat Shakari.
Brother, I have to have every notification for the Olympics. I want to hear every run.
Now Sherika Jackson coming
every jump.
Oh, that is absolutely huge of Wade Pinkham.
Every fling, live.
So, take us then.
Nothing can miss me.
We're always on the move.
So while we're driving, run, Elaine, run.
Jogging. Yes. Run, Watson. Win again.
Watson is now a world champion.
Or even at work.
Quick. The race has started.
We can't miss a beat because we keep it locked
To the only station.
for the Paris Olympics.
Nationwide.
Nationwide.
90 FM.
Nationwide 90.1, 90.3, 90.5, 90.7, and 90.9. And on YouTube at Nationwide 90 FM Live. Nationwide, the new revolution in media.
The Jamaica Productivity Center, an agency of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, continues to foster an environment of productivity with their Future of Work and Productivity Summit. Nationwide 90 FM will broadcast live from the summit's media launch on Thursday, May 9 at the University of Technology's Shared Facilities Lecture Theatre 49. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as the launch builds anticipation for the Future of Work and Productivity Summit. So don't miss Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the summit's media launch only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Good evening. 20 minutes going up to 7 o'clock. Well, the sectoral debates in the Parliament continued this afternoon, and up this afternoon was the Minister of Education, Favour Williams. And she is minister at a time when several issues are running in education. Schools being bedeviled by levels of violence and indiscipline, issues to do with the sitting of exams amidst bomb threats, performance of students not up to par, and, just a myriad of issues of bedeviling the education sector. Well, the minister waded in on the issue of school violence today.
Yes, as part of her sectoral presentation, she said loud and lewd music could potentially be contributing to the high levels of violence in schools. She says music plays a role in affecting the mindset of children when they arrive at school.
I begin with the immediate threat that concerns us the most in the education sector, the matter of school violence. It is true that it has overshadowed in a most negative way all the efforts of our principals, our teachers, our parents, the students themselves, and the Ministry of Education and Youth. School violence is student violence that occurs on school property, on the way to and from school, on the way to and from school-sponsored events, or during those school-sponsored events. We know that school violence disrupts learning and has a negative effect on students, schools, and the broader communities. Madam Speaker, when we look at the data from our critical incident reports that schools are required to submit within 24 hours of the critical incident, for the period January 22 to January 2022 to January 2023, a total of 55 critical incident reports were submitted through the regional offices to the Safety and Security in Schools unit at the Central Ministry. It is instructive to note that the 55 critical incidents occurred at 50 different schools, 15 primary and 35 high schools. 5 of the schools had 2 critical incidents each. And these range from gang violence to physical assault to robbery to break-ins at the school to school bus accidents to alleged sexual grooming to drowning to vandalism to stabbing to attempted abduction to brawls to physical altercations to a fire and alleged sexual assault. While 50 schools represent approximately 5% of the total number of primary and secondary schools in the education sector, These incidents of violence and assaults on school property are way too frequent for a small society such as Jamaica's, where most of us know each other. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say to Jamaicans that if you believe it is the sole responsibility of the principal, the teachers, and the Ministry of Education to solve school violence, I humbly ask you to think again. Yes, the education sector has a big role to play, but we have to look at the treatment that our children receive at some homes and in their communities that will determine their state of mind when they arrive at school. We have to consider that in some communities, very loud music and selectors screaming at the top of their voices until the wee hours of the morning during a school night in many communities that determine if our children arrive at school fully rested or simply exhausted from lack of sleep and just want to put their heads on the desk. It is the lewd lyrics being broadcast in some of the public passenger vehicles that our students have to travel in to get to school that will determine if they arrive at school in a calm spirit or sexually charged.
Or sexually charged. The Education Minister, Favour Williams. We're up on a break. Stay with us.
Chewy flavor with delight. It really, really nice. May I say it twice?
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
15 minutes to 7.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
so crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you're good, you're just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Get ready! The best ever international meet to be staged in Jamaica. The inaugural Jamaica Athletics Invitational. A World Continental Tour Silver with a star-studded cast of international and local stars. Saturday, May 11, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the National Stadium. Plus, a surprise entertainment package never seen before in Jamaica. Admission, finish area $3,000. Regular grandstand, $2,500. Bleachers, free with tickets obtained from outlets including the Stadium Ticket Office, Ticket Outlet, Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, and the National Stadium Ticket Office. Starting May 8th and online via MysticOnlineTix.com. April 22 to May 4. The inaugural Jamaica Athletics Invitational. A World Continental Tour Silver. Saturday, May 11, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the National Stadium.
Nationwide 90 FM is at it again. Team Revolution will clear every hurdle and sprint to the finish line as we cover the games of the 33rd Olympiad from Paris, the city of love.
Fraser Price gets the start, and look at this, Ahuri going well, and here they're coming to close it down. Jetta's coming through, but Fraser Price on the near side, the Olympic champion defends! She defends the title. Wonderful run by Shelly-Ann.
Nationwide's coverage is powered by our diamond sponsor, Pizza Hut. Now, that's delivering from all locations, island-wide. Minutes going up to 7 o'clock. We are bringing you excerpts of the sectoral debate presentation today by the Education Minister, Favour Williams. And she started with the issue of the violence we're seeing in our schools, the unacceptably high levels of violence. She quoted statistics, 55 schools, critical incident reports.
Between 2022 and 2023.
Yes. And she says the lewd music and the loud music that is played constantly on some public transport vehicles is what should I say, is helping to cause.
Affects the mindset of students.
Yes. She says this is only amplified through easy access to weapons and drugs.
Add to this the access to weapons and drugs and the fact that many of our children are witnessing violent acts in their homes and within their communities. And it is not difficult, Madam Speaker, to understand that it does not take much to spark school violence. So I reiterate, Madam Speaker, that the responsibility lies with all of us as Jamaicans. We all have a part to play in eradicating incidents of school violence. Madam Speaker, given that there are 190 school days in the school year, 55 critical incidents at our schools equate to a critical incident happening somewhere in the education sector every 3.5 school days. Madam Speaker, this is madness. As we analyze the data for this school year, a year in which we had 79 different schools reporting bomb threats, we're seeing more and more of the fights happening off school premises. And in those videos, we're not seeing adults intervening. Instead, we see students encouraging, egging on the fight while they video. For the fights that happen on school premises, I know that the principals, the deans of discipline, senior teachers, and other adults rush to intervene, which reduces the severity of the fight. They also follow up with their disciplinary processes. Students should know that on or off school premises, school violence is unacceptable.
Hear, hear.
In our schools, we strive to promote a culture of safety, respect, and support, and an environment where all students can thrive.
Meanwhile, Minister Williams says the government has invested heavily in behavioral programs to address school violence.
Madam Speaker, that is why we have employed an approach that is multi-pronged, and it starts with the safety and security policy that is designed to prevent violence. It clearly spells out how to implement physical security measures, such as searches of students' school bags, organizing training programs for school personnel to recognize warning signs and intervene effectively, counseling at-risk individuals, developing crisis and emergency plans, assigning roles for students, parents, and the community, and addressing and resolving conflicts in a constructive manner. Currently, Madam Speaker, school resource officers or police officers are assigned to a group of schools, and though no longer physically operating from our educational institutions, they continue to provide valuable support to schools. And this includes, but is not limited to, the following. They coordinate searches upon request. They visit schools regularly. We have motorized patrols in the general school environments before and after school hours. There's regular patrols in the transport and town centers to prevent students loitering during school hours. They do safety audits and reports upon request. They investigate critical incidents. They provide training sessions for staff and students. They do motivational talks. They do gang prevention intervention. They have summer camps. They have mentorship programs. Madam Speaker, we have several behavioral support services in schools, beginning with the school-wide positive behavior interventions and support that we call SWPBIS. It is a Caribbean-wide program that is in 509 primary and secondary schools in Jamaica. It is a framework designed to enhance students' understanding of behavior expectations at school. SWPBIS builds and/or changes the social culture within the schools in which it is practiced. This is a universal school-wide prevention strategy aimed at reducing behavior problems that lead to discipline, referrals, and suspensions, and change perceptions of school safety.
So several initiatives underway. But again, Chevron listeners, I have to look back at our time in school? Is it that we are seeing more incidents of violence relative to the school population then and now? Or, as I suspect, we are seeing those incidents of violence.
Because of the technology.
Because of the technology.
I've had that because I know we were rowdy back in high school as well.
Yes. We had fights at Excelsior every day. If you didn't have a all out, you had something. But none of us had phones to flash, to capture.
But one of the things I then look at is that I've never, back when I was in high school, there were not instances where people, for example, would stab their fellow female student in the neck over some boy that they broke up with, or beat someone nearly to death because they stepped on your shoes. Things like that did not happen, though.
Yes. The level of the violence is more today, and that's in keeping with the increasing levels of violence in the society. Yeah? Well, according to Minister Williams, the curricula in schools are also geared towards stemming the violence that we're seeing.
Madam Speaker, we have Health and Family Life Education, HFLE. It is a life skills focused education process to help students achieve their potential and assure their healthy contribution to social, cultural, and economic development of Jamaica. This is timetabled in our schools, and it's taught from primary through secondary. It focuses on problem solving, conflict resolution, how to deal with stress, how to say no, how to walk away. The program also provides guidance and counseling to individuals, groups, and families. Another program in schools is civics education. Since December of 2022, civics was reintroduced and is being implemented in our schools. There are 3 levels to the civics in schools program. Grades 1 to 3, awakening of awareness. Grades 4 to 6, awakening of social consciousness. Grades 7 to 9, awakening of social responsibility. We know, Madam Speaker, that civics education encourages good citizenship, greater respect for cultural integrity, nation building, among other things. Civics education helps to create a Jamaican who is confident and productive, who is successful, is a lifelong learner, a Jamaican who is deeply rooted in the Jamaican culture, a Jamaican who understands his or her rights and responsibilities as a Jamaican citizen. So, Madam Speaker, having reintroduced civics in school, you can imagine my consternation when the opposition broadcasted that they are going to reintroduce civics in schools, something this government has implemented. Anyone can step outside to view the books that are out there, civics curriculum books that are there, to see the evidence of this. Madam Speaker, there's counseling service that we provide in schools to include fully funded counseling from external clinicians. Counseling is mandated for all students who are suspended for breach of school rules, especially where violent behavior is concerned. Follow-up must be done to ensure that this is maintained. In schools, Madam Speaker, we have student leadership development consisting of peer counselors, student counselors, prefects, club leaders. We have restorative practice training programs, Madam Speaker. Earlier this year, in February, the Ministry of Education and Youth signed a memorandum of understanding for the continued delivery of restorative practice training in schools across Jamaica. Through this engagement, 500 schools will be targeted and some 12,500 participants. That includes school administrators, educators, students, parents, and guardians will be trained. In the previous year, under the MOU of May 2022, training took place in 258 schools, impacting more than 7,900 students 1,109 educators, and 1,034 family members. Madam Speaker, restorative justice, we believe, is an important tool in reducing violence by enabling individuals to have access to a dispute resolution process at the early stage of conflict to avoid escalation to violent reaction. In the school as well, Madam Speaker, you know we have clubs and societies, uniform groups, sporting programs, and we use these to engage our children. When we look at the uniform groups in schools, we continue to have the Girl Guides, Brownies, Boys Brigade, Cub Scouts, Cadets, Pathfinders. They play an invaluable role in shaping the character and awakening the social conscience of our young people. We continue to give support, and we continue to reach out to parents, guardians, other individuals to be trained so that they can lead one or more of these groups. We could expand the uniform groups significantly if more adults volunteered and made themselves available to be trained. And so we want to encourage you to come on board to help us to expand this partnership.
That's Education Minister Favour Williams. She was making her contribution to the sectoral debate on Wednesday.
We have 930 guidance counselors in the education sector. We have 140 deans of discipline. We have 210 health and family life teachers in our high schools, 187 school nurses. Together, these professionals total 1,467 at a cost of approximately $6 billion annually to provide the behavioral support for students in school. And even in December of last year, we introduced Behavior Change Student Support Team Approach and allocated another $72 million to support this program. It is where the deans of discipline get together with the classroom teacher, the guidance counselor, the school nurse, the HFLE teacher, the principal or the vice principal, and they form one unit to provide collaborative support services for the students. And I want to acknowledge the deans of discipline who came forward with this idea to combine instead of working independently. And of course, from our international partners, there's USAID Positive Pathways program that provides counseling. We have Transforming Our Perspective, Cognitive Behavior Therapy, another USAID program. There's case management consisting of social workers in the schools, in the zones of special operation. We also work with the Jamaica Conservation Development Trust. They've been partnering with us to do behavior change. They take students deemed high risk on hikes and offer therapeutic sessions. We have implemented Psychosocial Week, a time when our schools pause the regular curriculum. Specialists are engaged to do therapy, role-playing, how to focus on conflict skills, how to walk away. They do inspirational sessions and motivational talks. And schools can do this repeatedly, depending on their context. Yes, clinical services are also provided. The service is available to students and to teachers, and there's an annual budget of $15 million. Madam Speaker, only recently, Jamaica, through the Ministry of National Security, signed a £15 million violence prevention partnership with the UK to last over 6 years. This will also be focused on developing effective response to school violence. And Madam Speaker, in our basket of initiatives, we focus on parenting as well. And we are very encouraged to see the take-up of our parenting sessions. The topics are many, And these are designed based on consultation with parents as to what would help them the most. We have sessions that focus on parenting with a purpose, being a supportive parent, building self-esteem in children, communicating with children about difficult issues, being a positive role model, being a present parent, being a supportive parent. And those are just a few of the programs that we have been providing to our parents in our schools.
Once again, that is Minister of Education Fayval Williams. She was making her contribution to the sectoral debate earlier this afternoon.
All right, that's where we're going to leave it from the Minister. It's 4 minutes after 7, after the break. Yes? Stockbroker?
Think like a stockbroker.
Think like a stockbroker with Siobhan Campbell.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is
7:04.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
Some see the glass half empty, others see the glass half full. You check if there's water in the tap, because smart investors think ahead. This is Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker, giving you a clearer perspective on the investment markets.
Welcome, listeners, viewers, to another exciting episode of Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker, where we give you the information and insights you need to navigate the market. Joining me again is Assistant Vice President for Sagicor Investments Research and Strategy, Jodian Arias. Good evening again, Jodian. It's so lovely to see you.
Hi, Siobhan. Nice to see you too. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Looking forward to another episode just to get more information as to how to be that stockbroker for myself, and hopefully our listeners can learn something as well. Last week, before we get into it, we spoke about exchange-traded funds. Can you give us a recap as to what those are and how those impact the market?
Definitely. So exchange-traded funds, ETF for short, is really having exposure to several securities by just buying one. So it reduces your expenditure because you're not paying as much in terms of the cost to purchase, say for example, 10 securities, when it is that you could just buy one security and have exposure to all of those 10. And what that is important for us as investors who are thinking like stockbrokers is that it allows us diversification benefits because we're getting exposure to several securities by just purchasing one. So it's really about building like a basket. So it's think of an ETF as a basket of securities. So it's several things that have some commonality. It could be by sector, it could be by geographical landscape, it could be by the type of stocks that are that you would then get that exposure, and it would be a benefit to your portfolio, adding that diversification.
And explain to the listeners now, what is the importance of building that basket, having that diversification in their portfolio?
So diversification becomes very important because you don't want to put everything in one. So you don't want to just have one or two stocks in your portfolio, because if something specific happens to that sector or that company, then that's all your portfolio that goes. So it is very important that it is that you have a break or a diverse group. So you want to have sectors that are a little bit different. So in the event that something happens and it has a negative impact on one sector, you could reap positive returns in another sector, and that will give your portfolio somewhat of a balance. So it's really think of it as not putting all your eggs in one basket. So you want to have a little bit of diversification so that it hedges against anything bad that could happen in one space or to one company. You'd still have some amount of returns to gain.
So security and insurance.
Yes, that's it.
Let's get into it this week now. all you've been hearing about is NIR, Net International Reserves. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark announced that we've breached a milestone, a historic milestone. We've now accumulated $5 billion or more than $5 billion in our NIRs. Explain to our listeners what that is.
Let's focus on the last word in that long terminology there. And if you think of reserves, it's something that you set aside for future. So your net international reserves is really government's safety net in the event that there is any shocks to the economy. So it helps in terms of economic stability, in times of downturn. It could also help in terms of doing some sort of currency stability if you need it, as well as it helps in investor confidence as well. Is one of the things that having a sizable or stable net international reserves actually does for you. So it is actually quite important for us as investors thinking like stockbrokers to really have a handle on what it is that the company has as their safety net in the event that anything could go wrong.
So in this instance, the safety net, or I should say the company, is the Bank of Jamaica and the government. So how does that now impact the economy on a wider scale?
So think about if it is that you're looking at your life just as an individual. You want to have some amount of emergency fund in case anything could go wrong. And similarly, when it is that you're assessing a country, so if you're looking at buying into a sovereign or you're looking at investing in a particular country, so even if you're looking at the stock market, you're buying a company and it's not just a company that exists in the air by itself, it exists within a country, and you want to know that there is that stability within that country. If anything should go wrong, they'll be able to provide for their citizens. So what it is really that you're looking at Jamaica being an open economy. And if it is that we are open, it means that we have to trade with other partners and other countries. And other countries aren't accepting Jamaican dollars as a means of return for their goods and services. So you want to have some amount of reserve in terms of foreign currency. So in the event that you are not able to get in your regular flow of foreign exchange, that the government has that reserve so that we can still continue to trade with others. So it becomes quite important for investors when it is that you're looking at a country to see what it is that they're able to do in the times of any sort of hardship.
So now bring that down to the investment level, the individual investment level. How does this affect the market and how we invest in the market?
So it's definitely one of the indicators that a stockbroker is looking at. And as I would have mentioned, when you think about investing, you're not just investing in the company in isolation. You're investing in a company that exists within a space. So it exists within a particular sector, and that sector is within a country, right? So you have to assess everything in terms of how it is that this company is going to be able to continue to do its business. If it's in a space that is very tumultuous, then you may think, maybe even though it's a good company and there is the opportunity for them to sell to their domestic market, how is it that they're always going to be getting their imports? How it is that they're going to be getting the raw materials? And that factors into your decision as an investor. So when it is that you're buying into a company, into a particular space, you're also looking at where it is that it operates in. So it's not just isolation that I'm looking at a particular company and I'm saying company X is having high revenues and company X is doing well. I still need, as a stockbroker, to have an understanding of the sector that company X plays in. I need to have an understanding of the country that it plays in and how it is that that country is able to support growth for that particular company. How is it that that country is going to enable the company to do well if in the event that something doesn't go as planned.
Interesting. So this does not only have impact on those wishing to invest in, say, government bonds or other securities held by the Bank of Jamaica, but it also impacts how you would invest in companies that operate in the BOJ space.
It's nothing in isolation. I know I always say no man is an island, no company really exists by itself. So there are several factors that as investors we look at to do an assessment of why it is that we'd want to invest in a particular company, and the country that it operates in and the countries that it relates with also factor into that as well.
Interesting. So how does this affect investments long term? We've been trying to get our NIRs up. It's part of the structural benchmarks of the Bank of Jamaica and the government. So how does this impact investments when we're talking about, say, not just 2-3 months into the future, but say a year now?
One of the things we're learning on this program is that as investors, we're buying into the future. It's not just about how it is that things are going to happen historically, or how it is that is happening in the short term, is that we're buying into the future. So if it is that you're buying a company, you want to make sure that they're able to increase their earnings over time. You want to ensure that as a shareholder, you're receiving growth in whatever it is that you are benefiting from, whether it is the share price or it is that you're looking at dividend income, and you want to be able to see where dividend income could increase over time. And that for investors is very key. So it's not just in terms of what it represents for now, but we also have to consider the future and that sort of a long-term investments, because equities is really a long-term type of play.
So, Jody, we discussed last week, it's earnings season. Yes. Who's paying out?
Sure, I'll touch on it from the US market in terms of some of the earnings that we'd have seen. So I'll touch on Apple, which is a technology company, and we're quite familiar in terms of the iPhones as well as the iPads as consumers. And what we saw coming from their quarterly earnings for March is that they actually saw a slump in terms of sales for iPhones. However, stock price actually increased. And we spoke about this last week, in that you can actually have not as great as we'd like to see in terms of your earnings results in the past, but based on future or something that it is that you would have announced that markets response to that, and you could actually see an increase in terms of the share price. And what would have supported an increase in the share price in the case of Apple was that they would have indicated that they'll be doing a share repurchase. So they're saying to investors, we're purchasing shares, and so we're going to reduce the amount of shares that is outstanding, which means that when you look at it on a per share basis, your earnings would actually increase. And they also noted that they'll be increasing their quarterly dividend payments. So in terms of the monetary amount that shareholders would receive, that's going to be higher going forward. And that for shareholders, as we talk about payouts, is that you're looking for increased payouts to come to you, and that would have actually caused a demand for the stock, and we actually saw an increase in the share price.
Now, let's look at the information that you've given us this week and prior weeks now. What is Sagicor looking at in terms of an investment top pick?
This week, one of the companies that we'd have had our research team looked at, and we'd have actually released actual long-form reports on, so that gives you a full assessment of the company, our expectation, where it is that we think it's going, and whether it is we're recommending to our clients to buy or sell or just continue to hold that security, would have been A.S. Bryden & Sons Limited. And that would have been a company that's new to our market. So even though it had its roots in Barbados and it expanded into Trinidad and Tobago, it was acquired in 2022 by Seprod, which is a local company. And then it's eventually listed on our stock exchange in 2023, late 2023, and that was done by introduction in terms of listing. So it wouldn't have been a typical initial IPO, so you probably would not have seen quite a bit of buzz. So they did it by introduction, and it came onto our market. So that's one of the companies we're looking at, and we'd actually send to some of our clients information relating to that company.
So give us a little bit more on A.S. Bryden. Does it operate in terms of what's its business model, and does the business model that it takes from, say, its home country, Barbados, have an impact on how we invest in firms like these when they come over into our markets here in Jamaica? So
A.S. Bryden actually operates in the distribution space. So it is a large distributor, and it works very well in Trinidad and Tobago. So persons in that market are probably a little bit more familiar with the company. And I think when you talk about coming over into our space, because it was acquired by Seprod, then that provides for both Seprod and A.S. Bryden opportunities. So it is opportunities for expansion in our respective markets. And that's good. So once it is that you're now exposed to a company by introduction and you come into that space, then there's a little bit more free marketing probably in terms of persons being familiar with your company, with your products, and it opens up some opportunity to expand into that space. And that's actually one of the things we like about A.S. Bryden, is that they're actually continuing to do acquisitions. And so they actually acquired a brand called Stanfield Scott, and that is really a premium liquor brand, and that allows them an opportunity to expand into other markets. So as I mentioned, the acquisition with Seprod as well as their continued acquisitions provide opportunities for both companies to actually move into each other's markets.
So you'd suggest then that people would be in high spirits if they invested with Ace Brighton?
So our recommendation is actually to overweight, and we came to that recommendation by looking at a market comparative. So we looked at companies that are also listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange that are operating in the similar space, which would be distribution, and what it is that they're trading in terms of their PE, which we talked about last week, and their PBs, and then we did a comparison, and we are actually coming up with an overweight recommendation. But there's a whole document that was prepared by the great analysts at Sagicor Investments, and I urge you to reach out to a Sagicor wealth advisor to get that information.
Thank you again, Julian. That wraps up another exciting week of Think Like a Stockbroker. Join us again next week, same time.
That was Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. Smart investors think ahead. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. When you build wealth with Sagicor Investments, you never have to settle for less than your dreams. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor so Sagicor Investments can help you create, grow, and preserve your wealth.
Nationwide 90 FM is at it again. Team Revolution will clear every hurdle and sprint to the finish line as we cover the games of the 33rd Olympiad from Paris, the city of love.
Fraser Price gets the start, and look at this, Ahuri going well, and here they're coming to close it down. Jetta's coming through, but Fraser Price on the near side, the Olympic champion defends! She defends the title! Wonderful run by Shelly Ann.
Nationwide's coverage is powered by our diamond sponsor, Pizza Hut. Now, that's delivering from all locations, island-wide.
We'll have Watchman next, listeners, and then after that, your calls. The numbers are 630-937-124 and 618-8255. Come chat with us.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Why won't Jamaican employers pay workers a livable wage? November 27 to 29, 2017, Jamaica hosted the World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, Conference on Jobs and Inclusive Growth at the Montego Bay Conference Center. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, gave the keynote address to a receptive audience of close to 1,500 participants. There were some stimulating and thought-provoking speakers, such as then UNWTO Secretary General Taleb Rifai, who gave the welcoming remarks. The thought that sticks out most in the mind is one by our Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, who gave the opening speech. The Jamaican tourism sector is badly skewed, so that almost 80% of the benefits or earnings go to 20% at the top, who are the large accommodations, with only about 20% going to the 80% at the bottom, who are the small and informal service providers in the sector. An inconvenient truth about our vaunted tourism sector, if there ever was one. Although he didn't say it then, the minister must have had on his mind the situation with low wages paid to some resort workers, where a month's salary could not pay for one room night stay in the resort where they toil and give of their labor. An untenable situation that feeds into tourist harassment and hustling in resort towns. In a story titled, "Bartlett Wants Higher Wages for Tourism Workers," the Jamaica Observer newspaper, 2nd of May 2024 edition, reported on remarks made by the minister at a post-cabinet media briefing at Jamaica House. Bartlett was his usual optimistic self, announcing that the country earned US $1.27 billion from the tourism industry in the first 3 months of 2024. The revenue, he said, came from 1.34 million visitors to the island between January and March. What was different on this occasion was Minister Bartlett's clear indication that workers must, to a greater degree, benefit from the booming tourism industry. I quote from the piece in the Jamaica Observer. "Where tourism is going, then, is to create the transition from the low-wage characterization that we know of, and that transition will happen by labor market arrangements, not legislative mandates, that we are trying to put in place." End quote by Minister Bartlett. This is not just a tourism problem. These days we hear talk about shortage of skilled workers across industries and the need to import labor. But are employers willing to pay the higher cost? That is the question. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Get ready! The best ever international meet to be staged in Jamaica. The inaugural Jamaica Athletics Invitational. A World Continental Tour Silver with a star-studded cast of international and local stars. Saturday, May 11, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the National Stadium. Featuring the Olympic champion Hansel Parchment, former world champion Fred Curley, British record holder Zarnell Hughes, rising triple jump sensation Jaden Hibbert, Kyron McMaster, and Kristen Coleman, two-time world champion Danielle Williams, former world champion Dina Asher Smith, world record holder Toby Amusa, world championship medalist Shanika Ricketts, Marie-José Talou, St. Lucian Hotshot, Julian Alfred, Nia Ali, Rochelle Clayton, Kemba Nelson, plus a surprise entertainment package never seen before in Jamaica.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
Welcome back. You're listening to Nationwide News. We're into the third and final hour. The numbers to call are 630-9371-24 and 618-8255. Carl, you're on the line.
Good evening, Sheva.
Evening, sir.
Good evening, Carl.
Sheva, you're driving Andrew Holness Development versus Nigel Clark Highway yet?
The what did you call it? The what did you call it, Carl?
Andrew Holness Development versus Nigel Clark Highway from Harborview to Port Anthony.
No, I have not driven on that highway. I haven't
Oh
had the
boy,
option.
you're missing something, man.
How so?
when you go up a 9 mile and go up to 11 mile and look all over and I see it is beautiful to be looking.
I haven't had reason to go up that ways yet this year, since this year start. So I haven't seen the completion of that highway. So the issues regarding the lighting and such have been sorted out?
Some of them. Oh. One thing. You need to take a drive out there, man.
Mr.
And then when
you've been up there recently. It's good?
Not all the way. I've gone as far
when you go
as...
to the destruction of the old Goodyear by Lambert Brown and the Trade Union, them, and you have to take another stop out there again and look at that development that's putting up out there. You have to take a look, man. You can't just drive fast. You have to drive and I wonder, say, what is happening into Jamaica?
I'm happy to hear the people up there deserve better roads and they've had to struggle for quite a while.
But the pathway, really, you have to stop up in there and take a look out there. See Sunday and take a good look. Anyhow, Mr. Hughes, you're around long time like myself, and you may have to talk.
Oh.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
When since PMP know about interest rate and growth in Jamaica? When since? Because I hear Julian Robinson talk about interest rate 6 and 4%, and he want the DOJ people them to come to Parliament. I have no problem with that. He is correct. But when since they learn that the interest rate must be low, that business not in a problem. Like when since, Mr. Hughes?
Since FinSac.
Since FinSac?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So it's a good thing, say, the JLP get a good run for 8 years to show them how our country must perform.
Uh-huh. So them will learn.
Uh-huh. But the next problem we have with you now, Mr. Hughes, I continue to hear you talk about Donald Trump is the last person that you buck up on. Somebody in Jamaica, too.
Really?
Yes, Mr. Hughes.
Who that?
Then, Mr. Hughes, when you left Jamaica and gone to America, and talk about hospital and how them in a shamble and all kind of things, and you know say nothing no go, so no lie your lie, Mr. Hughes. Then, Mr. Hughes, you are carrying the destruction of a country, or you are trying to do everything to lead the destruction country. Mm-hmm. That not sound right to me, Mr. Hughes.
No.
Eh?
No. They not sound
because, right. Mr. Hughes, me and you remember the children hospital in the 18 years. The condition passed around the now. The passed around the one day last week. And even Dr. Dawes did have you on a scandal bag. I do surgery in a freedom time.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody needs to ask goal in them question there.
Well, you are asking him now.
A question I don't like to ask Julian Robinson, because Julian have a problem with interest rate. The next 15 or 20 years from now, when PMP come back in the office, it won't be Julian want to do finance. If them are plan to run with interest rate against the match of people business. Because it's the way Julian tried to set
it. Couldn't do that again. After what them cards in the 1990s, them couldn't do that again. You think them are mad to do that again?
But Mr. Hughes, if you did a plan to run with it, if me listen carefully, the most honest, sometimes me have to stop and I wonder if Mr. Duncan, Keith Duncan, I really DK Duncan son to show. Me have to wonder.
Why?
Yes, Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes, you're there for a long time now,
yes.
Mr. Hughes. You see that Keith Duncan there, Mr. Hughes? You ever listen when the man talk, the man speak the truth, the man no in a no name, no politics.
And that's why he's Duncan's son.
Boy, I mean, I think so, Mr. Hughes.
You go about your business.
Mr. Hughes, you listen to man Friday morning, Mr. Hughes?
Friday morning. Where was he speaking?
I believe he's talking about Epoch press conference.
Oh, yes. Yes, I heard excerpts of that.
Yes, when you listen to Keith Duncan, you have to digest it, Mr. Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not say you can just listen to a man and just talk
Mm-hmm.
and you just run over it. You have to listen to Keith Duncan properly when he talk. Because the man
It's
come and
sweet
tell
you.
you.
It's sweet you.
I know sweet, me, Mr.
It's what?
Hughes. Mr. Hughes, me know that my country is doing well over the last 8 years. Me don't have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm. And in talk the truth.
Mr. Duncan never have to tell me that. And Mr. Duncan come and try to explain to the people them who Mark can run up and down and Julian them and tell, and them little one they can run up and down and tell one bag of foolishness, is that here, in all the $25 billion we short, our country is still doing well. That's what Mr. Duncan said.
Yes.
And that you can't just get up and just listen to him talk and not digest it to know where we are come from a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. When it was a regular thing, you miss targets as a matter of course.
Exactly.
Yes.
And if you hear these people, but it's a you all know me not hear now. You see the problem where a lot of us have with the human wrongs them. That is the next part.
No. We need to give other people a chance, Carl.
All right, no problem.
Good. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Mr. Hughes, we had a lot of heavy rain in Portland, as you know. I would say coming from Fairhill
When?
last week, even on Sunday.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And coming from Fairhill into, say, Folly Road, the area there. They will stand up except near to Folly, where you have that place what they call Chile, or that area there. They will dig up the area, you know.
You're talking the new road?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Most of it stand up well, except for that little area.
Yes.
But one of the things that I am very fearful of is those drivers who think they're on racetrack, you know. I've seen them in the Fairhill area, you know. Because the road is good, they don't think they should
How far
drive.
is it now completed? How far into Portland now?
Right at Folly there.
Oh, it is as far as Folly now.
Yes, they are making plans to. I don't know what the town. We haven't heard fully how they're going to do the town, you know. Because the town is too small to take any expansion.
Yes.
And I remember.
Is full.
Yes, and I remember I worked with Royal Caribbean for a while, and they were interested in coming to Port Antonio, but they're saying that the town is too small because they sold all the small ships, you know, so it's mega ships they have now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if the tendering system is feasible.
Well, Nationwide at 5 will be out there tomorrow afternoon with Ricardo Brooks.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes. He's going to be at the marina.
Okay. Yeah. But the marina run down, Mr. Hughes. It's not what it used to be. Yeah, it's not what it used to be, man.
Oh, dear.
And bad lighting also. I don't know, because I did spoke about it on your radio station here, and I don't know if they had fixed it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people were a little bit fearful at night to go over there because of poor lighting.
Oh. So what happens over there now? There's no recreational activity taking place?
No, and it lost that attractiveness that it used to have. And you have a lot of people used to go over there and hang out in the evenings. You don't see much of that.
Well, it had a restaurant as well. So
yes.
The restaurant is still open?
I'm not sure because I haven't really gone that side. I go the opposite side.
So you tell me you don't know if you don't go over there at night time and you going to tell me so you
No, I don't go over there anymore at night. I used to.
Well, you don't go, so you're going to know certain things.
But the lighting was a system problem why I didn't go over there anymore.
Yeah, but a long time you don't go over there, so you can't tell me if the restaurant open.
I was over there about a couple of weeks ago. I was over. I didn't check for the restaurant.
Oh, couple of weeks now.
Yeah, I'm not a restaurant man, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
My final point here to you, sir. I would like to. I was in Jamaica then. What was the outcome with the Bob Woolmer case?
The Bob Woolmer?
Yes, the Pakistani court. Because some people say it was strangulation, some say it was poison.
Was it? Did we ever get a definitive answer to that one? No, I don't think we got a definitive answer to that one.
Because I think it was an embarrassment to our police based on, the wrangling that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, sir.
My respect.
Thank you. Good. 23 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. We're taking your calls on 876-630-937124. That's 630-937124 or 876-618-8255. Time for the break.
This outstanding 6'4" athlete credits Jamaica with her first Olympic victory ever.
Jamaica is filled with Olympians.
World record holder McKinley dashes into the lead.
We must never forget the forerunners of Jamaican Olympic greatness.
Coming into the home stretch, it's Wint who challenges the leader.
Win or lose, athletes never forget their Olympic experience.
Fairly Notty has devastated another world-class field. And Hemmings is going to do it. Hemmings wins it. She's the champion. A personal...
Win or lose, Jamaicans will cheer the loudest at the Olympics so that the world will never forget who we are.
And Usain Bolt is moving away. And Jamaica retained their title. And the world record has been taken apart. Oh, I say.
From July 26 to August 11, tune in only to Nationwide 90 FM for the coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, because we're here to ensure that you never forget. Nationwide's coverage is powered by our bronze sponsors: National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited, Digicel, Grace Foods, Spirits of Jamaica, Imperial Optical Jamaica, and Rainforest Caribbean.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own. Some dream of owning their very own store, meet a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor.
It's 7:40 and we're still taking your calls. Noel, you're on the line.
Good evening, Noel.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask a question. Most countries, especially Caribbean, generally depend on tourism. Is that right?
Several, yes.
Yes. You have ever said to Carl, tell him that is it. Him don't talk about when Mr. Thiago went to the United States and tell them that tourists is not safe for them to come to Jamaica.
He wouldn't mention that. He wouldn't mention that. That is not in keeping with his political agenda.
So just a one-side thing.
They not so to do it. Him a green, or somebody else are orange. You think they might come say anything that not fit for them narrative?
I see. So there's no honesty then?
I don't know about honesty. What I do know, that in the cut and thrust of the political debate and supporters... Let me finish. In the cut and thrust of the political debates, the political parties and their supporters come and they slant their argument. They slant their arguments to suit their party. That is the standard practice. Go ahead, sir. Okay. Good. Anthony, good evening.
Sir Clifford, what is your brother name again?
Siobhan, Anthony, how you doing?
Siobhan, yes, Siobhan. I don't know if I can remember your name. Anyway, I don't come to the line for the radio tonight. Because I'm close to go hang out my line.
You're going to hang out close at this hour of the night? Should I take up close off a line now?
Late, I just 23 years or so.
Then Dew not going to take them soon?
Who?
Dew.
If you not Dew? Yeah, man. So, man, y'all get up tomorrow morning, they actually dry.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So the machine already actually dry them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, when we call to say, one of the brother that call you not too long, one, the JLP one there,
Mm-hmm.
call. Me like how he say something, you know, because this is one thing me always say, me always say to my wife, is that when Mr. Duncan, what Duncan's name?
Keith Duncan.
Keith, right?
Yes.
When he comes on the radio, you know, you don't know it's my JLP or PMP.
And that's good.
And that is so good.
Yes.
I don't even know, say, Mr. Duncan's son. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's DK Duncan's son.
I want to me Cleveland have a conversation on the phone, and Cleveland I say, sister, is Mr. Duncan's son, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And me tell you, sir, anytime that man come on the radio talk, me ask him this no matter what me I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because me just like how the man there no bias at all. We just like how he put things across to everybody.
He's
Whether
not a,
you're PNP or JLP,
he's not a tribalist.
where the man I say it's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
Man. So anyway, I'm going on my clothes then.
So hold on the note before you run left me. Anthony, before you run left me. Where in Jamaica are you? Anthony? Him go hang out in closing. Oh, Lord. But, you know, the reality is, we as Jamaicans, those of us who defend our parties, yeah, it's a standard thing. You think Carl going to come here and talk about the fact that there was a time in Jamaica when Edward Seaga and labor rights, yes, made it a part of their political occupation to badmouth Jamaica in the 1970s. Yes?
And there would be a lot of people around my age who wouldn't be aware of that. And
Wouldn't
younger.
be, yes, but I remember it clearly. It was part of the campaign against the Manley administration of the 70s. And the Gleaner would dutifully republish those anti-Jamaican articles, yeah, in the newspaper here.
I'm sure there is a lot of these incidents that happened in the past that would not paint a pretty picture of either political parties.
Precisely. And that is why me can't take it with them, because I know what them do. Yeah? I've been around for a little while. Yeah?
Because I know it is a commonly accepted, I don't want to call it a fact because it's never come out as a proven fact, but it's a commonly accepted notion that there was some level of meddling on the part of the United States government and the CIA in the Jamaican economy back in the 1970s.
Some sort of meddling?
I'm trying to be
much more than that.
Democratic in my statement.
And the Cubans were also meddling.
Exactly.
We're also interfering. And we're also playing a part in our internal politics.
I know these are things that aren't said out loud nowadays, but it's something we have to confront.
Yes.
It's a fact of where we're coming from.
We were caught in the middle
of an ideological war.
The ideological war. We were seen as a proxy. It is not by accident that when the Labour Party under Seaga swept the elections of October 30, 1980, yes, Ronald Reagan came to power in November of 1980. And you know who was the first visitor, foreign leader, invited to the White House?
It was Edward Seaga.
Edward Seaga of Jamaica. Yes? Because Jamaica's election of 1980 was seen as a fight, a straight-out fight between communist Russia and Cuba and capitalist America. And we were caught in the middle of that. We were proxy. It was a proxy war being fought here. And we know there's overwhelming, well, let me not use overwhelming, most of the gun violence, the political violence,
yes,
yeah,
was as a result of that,
was fueled by that.
And many of the weapons, still floating around in Jamaica, that is where this idea of importing illegal weapons to Jamaica started. In furtherance of a war, essentially.
Right. In fact, the political violence started before 1980. It, I think, peaked in 1980. Well, it started from the mid-1960s. Yeah. Anyway, David, good evening.
Good evening, Turcliffe. Good evening. I can't remember the other thing for my name again.
Siobhan Campbell.
Siobhan. Good evening, Siobhan. What I want to talk about is the violence in school. I am a part of the system, the government system, where even for child guidance clinic, I see parents come, father and mother alone or father alone, and to keep the child at one spot, they will just give the child a tablet. Now, there is no monitoring of what that child is watching. And there is no time limit to how long the child spends on the tablet. And whenever time I see the parents would take away the tablet from the child would throw a tantrum and behave aggressively. And I sit and I look and I did some research on the development stages of children and how they develop and everything and what can cause a problem. And since recently I've realized that with the tablets and the gadgets in the kids' hands, it is causing one of the major problems.
I hear you, sir. I've said it before that the current generations, the Generation Zs and the Generation Alphas to come, I think they will make an interesting case study in a few years as to the impact technology has had on not only the mental stability, but the ability for social interactions with each other. Because our generation, my generation, the millennials, we had a bit of it, but we still had some of that structure that existed before that other generations had. But I feel like all of those structures have broken down completely since, just completely broken down, where social media has essentially replaced almost every other aspect of human interaction.
And socialization.
Precisely.
And I just said that because when I from time to time I watch some of these soap operas and stuff on the gadgets, on the internet. And I realize that most of these actions that are happening in our society today is the same thing that is happening in the social, on the social platform.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see where they have the soap opera where the girl break up with the boy and the other girl start talking to him. And the first girlfriend just go and stab up the second girlfriend. And that is happening in our society today.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, these are the things that we need to look into. I know the gadgets help them with schoolwork and so forth, but parents have to make it a time limit. I am not going to buy my 9-year-old a phone.
Mm-hmm.
I would never buy my 9-year-old a phone. Who's going to call that 9-year-old?
Well, I can see the benefit of having a cell phone for a child, but that cell phone has to come with restrictions in terms of what it can access and who can essentially access the child through it.
If I am at school, if I am at work, and the child is at school and I need to speak with the child, I'll call the teacher. I'll call the school to speak with the child.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where, and the competition thing, who has the biggest this or who has the biggest that, it all has to do with social media because that is exactly what you see happening in these soap operas.
I'm a bit draconian in my thinking. I believe social media should not be accessible by anyone below the age of 18. In fact, I'd go further. I don't think social media should be accessible by anyone below the age of 21, which is legal drinking age.
And I agree with you.
You must be careful about what you're agreeing with.
It's a bit draconian, but I believe that
draconian.
If we agree that people's mental processes are formed in certain years, and we try to limit the type of impact certain, let's call them inputs have on those mental processes, how can we ignore social media as one of them?
You can't ignore it.
Precisely.
Practically, you can't ignore it. Practically, you can't implement what you have just suggested.
You can
practically, it is not operable.
You
How
can
do you
require a
how do
debit
you
card.
prevent a person
Require a debit or credit card to access social media.
And how you do that? When all that 16-year-old needs,
but that's
or 17,
my point. Require a subscription for you to access social media.
How you make that work?
Require a debit
Subscription.
card. You
How?
cannot get a credit card or a debit card without being at the age
You don't
of
need a
18.
credit card, debit card.
No, that's my point. You should implement that as a requirement to access social media.
Who is going to operationalize that? Who is going to set up the business to operationalize that?
The social media
cost of doing-
platforms
Who
would do that.
Why would they do that? And you're limiting.
No, but I'm talking about the safety of humankind, not the let's say the unfortunate side effect of having to pay additional fees or sums. I'm talking about how do we safeguard mankind from its degeneration.
Oh, it's amazing to hear you talk about this, Siobhan, based on our discussions in the newsroom. Yes?
They have apps now that you can turn off your child's phone if you want.
Yes,
and whatever
you
child is
can.
watching, you can see it on your device also.
Yes. But when you talk about restricting an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old from getting accessing social media, it's just not on. That's not practical.
It's practical, but it's not possible for people to do it because we would never have tried to
But
do it.
the impracticality of it, yes, is just overwhelming.
Yes, that's true.
How is it more overwhelming for a site to require that you pay for a subscription?
Who is going to do that? Which site is going to do that?
Many social media platforms
But
have
they
access
are
to
commercial operations, Siobhan.
But that's my
They
point.
thrive on ears and eyes.
And that has been the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They
And how you
harvest
stop
your
that now?
data.
How do you stop that
At this
now?
point in time, you are not the customer. You are the product. They harvest your data to utilize in order to satisfy their actual customers, their shareholders. And that dynamic must be changed.
How?
Well, that is my opinion.
How?
That is my opinion.
I heard that, but how? How do you change that?
It would require
Siobhan,
actual radical intervention that I know would never happen.
Okay. There you go.
No, but I
Thank you.
said
Thank
I
you.
spoke to a draconian measure that I would implement
It's
if
not
I
only
had the
draconian,
ability.
it is simply not practical.
No, but I accept that it's not practical.
Okay, good.
In the
Argument
sense
done
that
then.
nobody would want to do it.
Okay, good. Argument done then. All right, that's where we're going to leave it this evening. Thank you very much, caller. Hello, caller. Thank you very much.
I think we took away the caller's time.
You did. Okay, thanks to our callers, our contributors, our producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson, and of course the members of our news and production team, led by our editor, Cara Powell. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Taboo Topics.